Right now, in Washington, D.C., a political and economic thriller is playing out in real time. And it all revolves around one man, the person who controls the world's most important currency. And, get this, he's just been accused of a crime by the President of the United States.
Wow, okay. That's a direct quote from Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve. We're talking about the head of the most powerful central bank on the planet. And he's not just under criminal investigation by the Justice Department, he's coming out and saying it publicly. He's claiming this whole thing is happening for one reason and one reason only. He didn't do what the president wanted him to do.
So how on earth does the world's most powerful banker end up in the crosshairs of a criminal probe? That's the question we're going to unpack right now. And believe it or not, the official story starts with a building. Yeah, that's right. The investigation is officially all about the renovation of the Federal Reserve's headquarters. But we have to ask, is this historic building the real reason for this crisis, or is it just a very convenient excuse?
Here's the number that got the ball rolling. $2.5 billion. That's the sticker price for the Fed's HQ renovation. You can bet the White House jumped all over that number, immediately calling it a massive waste of money.
But, when you actually look at the breakdown, a totally different story emerges. This isn't about fancy chandeliers or gold-plated faucets. The costs are ballooning because of things they have to do, like safely removing dangerous asbestos, dealing with strict DC building laws that mean they have to build down instead of up, and adding mandatory security upgrades that have been required since 9/11.
And that's the key right there, that disconnect. The White House is painting this picture of a wasteful palace, but the reality is, these are mandatory, non-negotiable upgrades for safety and security. It really starts to feel like the building is just the bait, while the real target, well, that might be something much bigger, like interest rates.
So if that $2.5 billion price tag is just a smokescreen, what's the real fight here? This is where things get serious. We're talking about a war over power, money, and control.
And make no mistake, this isn't just some war of words in the media. It is a carefully planned attack being fought on two separate fronts at the exact same time, one in the courtroom and the other right in the halls of Congress.
Okay, so on the legal front, the White House is coming in with a 1-2 punch. First, you've got prosecutor Jeanine Pirro, a known loyalist, who is spearheading the criminal investigation. And at the same time, there's this huge Supreme Court case, Trump v. Cook, that could completely rewrite the rules of presidential power as we know it.
It all boils down to this really controversial legal idea called the unitary executive theory. The easiest way to think about it is like this. Imagine the president is the sole CEO of USA Incorporated. This theory argues that he should have the power to hire and fire anyone in the executive branch, and that includes supposedly independent officials, like the chair of the Fed.
But just as that legal strategy was kicking into high gear, something unexpected happened on the political front. Republican Senator Thom Tillis, who's on the powerful banking committee, suddenly announced he would block any new nominee to the Fed. This move creates a potential checkmate, basically paralyzing the president's plan to just get rid of Powell and put his own person in.
So this fight might be centered in Washington, but the shockwaves, well, they went global, instantly. So how did the rest of the world react to seeing America's central bank suddenly come under political siege?
When you want to see how people really feel about political risk, you don't look at the polls, you look at the markets. They deliver the fastest verdict. And in this case, that verdict was swift and it was brutal. Almost immediately, investors ran for cover. Gold, which is kind of like the world's fever thermometer for fear, just shot up to over $4,600 an ounce. Silver jumped over 6%. This wasn't just about what might happen to interest rates. This was a hedge against the very foundations of the U.S. financial system being shaken.
And then something really strange happened. The US dollar itself started to fall. Now, usually when there's chaos in the world, the dollar gets stronger because it's seen as a safe haven. Not this time. This time, investors were basically selling America, worried that the rule of law that protects their money was suddenly at risk.
The bond market sent probably the most sophisticated signal of all. See, short-term interest rates went down because traders were betting all this chaos would force the Fed to cut rates. But long-term rates actually went up. That signals a deep fear that a politically controlled Fed would just print money and cause massive inflation down the road. It was a clear, undeniable vote of no confidence.
And then came the international community. in a move that is just completely unprecedented. 10 of the world's most important central banks, we're talking Europe, Canada, Australia, they all issued a joint statement. They offered their full solidarity with Chairman Powell. It was a stunning public rebuke that left the White House totally isolated on the world's financial stage.
So, with battle lines drawn, the markets in a panic, and the entire world watching, we've arrived at the endgame. Where do we go from here?
Well, as I see it, there are really 3 ways this could play out. Scenario 1 is the worst case. Powell is actually indicted, which would trigger a total constitutional crisis. Scenario 2 is institutional gridlock, where the political stalemate just paralyzes the Fed, leaving it leaderless. Or there's a third option. The market screams so loudly that the White House is forced into a tactical retreat.
You know, this whole massive crisis really boils down to one simple fundamental question. As you watch this all unfold, you should ask yourself, who do you want controlling the value of the money in your wallet? Should it be independent experts who are shielded from politics? Or should it be the political leaders we elect? The answer to that question is going to define our economic future.